Hi there and welcome to this IBM Cloud Foundation Skills Series video. This particular video is going to be a lab, and it's going to be a lab on file storage. So in this lab, what I'm going to show you is how to provision file storage, how to actually authorize hosts to use the file storage, how to mount the storage to a virtual machine, how to alter the space and the IOPS of the file storage once it's been provisioned, and also how to take and restore snapshots. Okay, so here I am in my IBM Cloud dashboard, and obviously to create some file storage I need to first of all go to the catalogue, so let's click on catalogue, and once I'm here, if I then just go to storage, then you can see the various storage options here. So obviously we want some file storage, so if I click on here, then the next screen just gives you some blurb. There's a link here to the doc, so it's always a good place to go and have a look at to find out a bit more. You can also look at the terms as well, so you can just check out the terms of the service if you're interested in that. Otherwise, the screen's just giving you a bit more information, the kind of information we've gone through in the last couple of videos. So I'm just going to go and click Create. And what we get next is the provisioning screen. Let me just make this a little bit smaller so you can see more on a particular screen. So the first thing is to actually choose the data center where you actually want to provision your storage. Now the important thing to remember is that wherever you provision your storage, that's where you can use it. So if you provision your storage, for instance, in US South Dallas 13, then to actually use that storage, you need to make sure that you provision your virtual machines in the same data center. So do bear that in mind. You can't say provision file storage in US South and then use it with virtual machines in London 06. So you do need to be aware that you need to provision your file storage in the same data center as to where you're going to actually put your virtual hosts as well. Now there's a little line here which says denotes updated data center with improved capabilities. Now I've had a quick look through this. And in fact, the only data centers which don't have this improved capabilities are San Jose and Seattle over in US West. Now, what that actually means is we've recently upgraded a lot of the file storage within IBM Cloud, and this means that the encryption at rest capability has been added, and we've also backed the file storage with flash storage, so it gives higher IOPS, etc. So I shouldn't worry too much about that because, as I say, there's only those two data centers that are waiting to be upgraded at this particular point in time. But if it's there and you've noticed it, then that's what that means. Okay, so we need to choose our data center. So I'm going to choose Lon 06 because I'm in the UK and that's closest to me. The next thing to do is choose your billing method. So you can either choose hourly or monthly billing. Now, again, you need to just decide how long you're actually going to be using your file storage for, as to which billing method you perhaps choose. So if you're likely to hold on to your storage for a longer period of time, say probably more than 3 weeks or so, then you might want to think about monthly billing rather. If it's fairly transient and you don't think you're going to need your storage for very long, then hourly billing is the way to go. You can't actually change, once you've provisioned it, you can't actually change your billing method. So do bear that in mind before you actually provision the storage. So I'm going to stick with hourly there. So the next box here is size. So this is actually the amount of storage that you want to provision. So this remember is so at the moment this is for endurance. So you can choose a size anywhere between 20 gigabytes and 12,000 gigabytes or 12 terabytes. So if I put in one there, then obviously that's going to error. So it's not until I actually put a value of 20 in there that it becomes valid. And similarly, if I put in there, let's say 20,000, then it's going to error on me as well. So think about how much you need. As I said in the previous video, with file storage, you can start low and grow. So if you're not sure how much you actually need, or you think that you're going to grow over time, then think about just putting in the minimum that you need for now, with perhaps a little bit of an overhead. because the option is always there to increase the amount of storage that you've got at a later date. And of course, if you don't provision it now and you provision it later when you need it, then again, you're not actually paying for the storage until you actually need it either. So, but obviously, if if you provision 20 gigs now, then you'll be paying for the 20 gigs. But if you then decide to expand to, let's say, 30 gigs, then you'll pay for the 20 gigs now, but you only pay for the extra 10 gigs, obviously, when you come to provision it. So I'm going to stay small here. I'm just going to put in a value of 20. So the next option here. So we're concentrating here on endurance. What we've got here are the 4 different types of, or the 4 different levels of IOPS that you can actually have for endurance. So as you can see, 0.25 IOPS is for low intensity workloads. Then you've got 2 IOPS for general purpose workloads, 4 IOPS for high intensity workloads, and then 10 IOPS for more demanding workloads. So, as I said in the last video, have a think about which level of IOPS you might need, and then decide whether or not endurance is actually the right way for you to go. Remember what I said in the last video as well. If you do choose to go for 0.25 IOPS, then that actually means that you can't then increase the number of IOPS at a later stage. You're actually stuck with 0.25 IOPS. So bear that in mind as well. If you're not entirely sure which level that you need to be on, then it's probably better to stick with 2 IOPS, just because you can then actually go up to 4 and go up to 10 if you need to at a later date. Okay. Now the other thing that I didn't really mention in the last video is when we talk about IOPS, you're getting IOPS per gigabyte. So in this case, you're getting 2 IOPS per gigabyte. So you're getting 2 times 20 IOPS with this. So it's 2 IOPS for every gigabyte. So again, just bear that in mind. You're not just getting 2 IOPS with this. You're getting 20 times 2 IOPS. So it's 2 IOPS literally per gigabyte. So let's have a quick look at the performance IOPS as well. So here you're more custom. So here you can actually then, you're choosing different ranges. So you can choose a range here of, sorry, I'm looking at size. So you're looking at size, so you can choose a size for performance between 20 gigabytes and 12,000 gigabytes. So what you'll notice here is that this range actually changes as I change this. So if I say 20 gigabytes, then I can enter custom IOPS between 100 and 1,000. So rather than being stuck with 0.25, 4 or 2, 4 and 10, I can actually change this to any number I want to between that range. So for instance, I can make it 120 if I want to. I can make it 450. I'm going to exceed the range now. So I can make it, just trying to do this. So 405, let's say. So it allows me to be really precise and really accurate with what I want to do. Now, if I actually change this total, so let's see how far I can go. So I've changed this to 200 gigabytes now, and as you'll see that the IOPS range has actually changed, so we're now up to 6,000 IOPS. And again, if I change that again, then that exceeds it. So if I go to 12,000, you can see that it's changed again, so I can now provision IOPS between 100 and 20,000 IOPS per gigabyte. So again, depending on with performance, depending on the size of the storage that you're actually going to provision, depends on what IOPS are actually available to you. And as I say, you can be really precise with the IOPS that you want to configure with performance storage as well. So I'm going to stick with endurance for this. I'm going to, as I say, go down to the smallest amount. But obviously, when you're configuring this, think about what your smallest amount would actually be in your use case. I think for general purpose, we'll stick with the 2 IOPS because then it gives you the option to move up to these. So the next option is around snapshot space. So if you do actually want to take snapshots, then you need to provision some level of snapshot space. And now you can add snapshot space later. So if at the moment you don't think you're going to take snapshots, you can keep that at 0. And if you decide that you want to later on, you can add snapshot space. That's not a problem. So again, for endurance, and we'll check this again for performance. With endurance, you can you can choose the different levels of snapshot space. Let's see if that changes with different sizes. So I'll go back to 12,000. Let's see if that changes. So yes, again, as you change the amount of storage, then you'll get different options for your snapshot space. Now you'll notice that even with the largest amount of disk space, you don't get right up to that. You only get up to 4,000 gigabytes. And again, that's because typically snapshots actually take up less space than your actual full amount of disk because of the way that it works. So think about how many snapshots you're likely to take, how frequently you're likely to take them, and then you'll get to the point where you get a happy medium of actual disk space size to snapshot space size as well. So let me put this back down. Let's go back to 20. Let's just double check that for performance as well. So again, you're getting the same options here for performance as well. So here we go. So back up to 12,000 there. No, 1200, 12,000. So we've exceeded that. So that's why I'm getting an error there, is because I can't actually have 100 IOPS for a space of 12,000. So I just need to change that. So I need to go to 1,000 IOPS. There we go. It's happy now. And again, I'm getting the same range of snapshot space. Okay, so let's go back and let's just reset all this back down to 20 and my 2 IOPS. So I'm going to choose a snapshot space of, let's say, 5 gigabytes. So it's as simple as that. Okay, so when you actually want to come to provision it, just make sure you're in the right data center. Make sure you've got your right billing method, and you've chosen the size of snapshot and the right type of IOPS. You just need to then have a look at the costing. So for this, it's around about about half a cent per hour. So all you need to then do is just say that you've read the terms and conditions, and then simply press the create button, and off it'll go. So this will probably just take a couple of minutes to actually create. It's really quick. So I'll just pause the video there whilst it's doing that, because you don't really want to. Well, there you go. It's already done. The author's been placed. So it's going to say, as I say, it's going to take a few minutes to appear in my device list. So what I'll do is pause the video there, and I'll come back to you when it's finished. Okay, so here I am back at my resource list. So this is the screen that we get pushed back out to once we've clicked the create button and the order's gone off. So it's a couple of minutes since I ordered the storage. So let's just go and click this here, because we're going to go and look at our file storage. And what we see here is a list of the file storage. So this is the storage that I've actually provisioned. This is something I provisioned earlier that I've now decided to get rid of. I was just testing with that. So if we click into the file storage that I've just provisioned, then this is the detail of the file storage. So the main things to look for here, you can see the type of storage that it is, the capacity again, the location is obviously quite important, whether or not it's active. Device is authorized. Now this is quite important. At the moment you can see this is 0. So as I said in an earlier video, for a device to actually use this storage, you need to authorize it first. So I'll show you how to do that in a second. This will tell you whether or not the storage is encrypted. So because we've created it in one of the new data centers, one of the enhanced locations, as I say, there's only actually 2 locations that don't have this. You can see the encryption of data at rest is active, so we've got a yes against that. Now the host name, this is the host of the actual device that is running this storage. You don't need to worry too much about that. The thing that you are probably interested, or you will be interested in, is this mount point. So you will need to know this mount point, probably copy and paste that mount point when you actually come to mount the storage in a moment. So we'll look at that in a second. So looking down here, you can see what space you've got. So at the moment there's nothing here, so you can see I've still got 20 gigabytes of free space. But as that fills up, you can see how much is used and how much is still free. Same with the snapshot space as well. So again, if you as you create snapshots, you'll see this slowly fill up. So it's something worth keeping an eye because obviously if that does fill up, then you may need to go and provision some more storage space or snapshot space. So we talked earlier about creating snapshot schedules, and as you can see here, you can set an hourly schedule, daily schedule, or weekly schedule. So I'll show you that in a second. Here, as snapshots are actually created, you'll see them actually appear in this list here. And over here, you can see that you can take a manual snapshot, or you can change your snapshot space. So down here is actually the authorized host. So as at the moment, no hosts are authorized to use this volume. So this list is empty. But as you actually come to authorized hosts, you'll see this list fill up. So let's actually authorize a couple of hosts. So this is pretty simple. So we just click the authorized host button. And what I've done in the background, I've actually created a couple of virtual servers. So I can show you this and attach them. So I'm going to change, so as you say, the device type can either be a bare metal server or a virtual server. You can also change different subnets and IP addresses. So if you think you need to connect this to a particular IP address, you can do that. I'm going to stick with devices. So it's not a bare metal server, I've actually got better virtual servers. So what I do here now is actually click the guests. So you can see I've actually got these two servers here, so I'm going to take both of them in turn. So there we go. So I've actually got two servers here. So I've imaginatively called these Virtual Server 1 and Virtual Server 2, but I'm going to submit those. Okay, so you can see a success message up here. So two of those have been authorised, and you can see then down here that both of these have been authorised as well. And you can see their IP addresses and things like that. So you can see that it's actually going to go over the private network as opposed to the public networks of the 10.72 address. So again, you get a couple of actions here. So you can edit the host. So if you want to go along and do some work on the host, you can do that. And you can also revoke access from here as well. So if you decide that this machine, for instance, no longer needs access, you can just revoke host from there. Let's see what else we can see on the screen. So some actions here. So you can actually use this to modify the volume. So if we quickly click on that. So if, for instance, you decide that you want to expand the storage, then at the moment the current size is 20 gigabytes, so I can change that if I want to. I can adjust the IOPS. As I said, if I was at 0.25, I can't move from that, and also can't move down to that either. But from here, I can move up to the 4 or 10. Then all I need to do is, so if I wanted to do that, then all I need to do is just double check the terms and conditions and then place the order. So from here, I can't actually modify this so at the moment I've obviously got endurance storage. I can't modify this so that I go to performance in storage. What I can do is actually move between the various tiers. And if I want to, I can move back a tier. And as it says here, I can specify the new IOPS. I can increase the IOPS tier at any time. I can only decrease once a month, so that's once per billing cycle. So that's how you do it. I'm going to cancel that because I'm not actually going to change the storage tier. So let's see what other actions are under here. So I can duplicate a volume. So if I decide that I want this to be on some other piece of storage, I can do that. So all I do is create a snapshot. I can't actually change the location, so the location will still be London. I can choose what billing method I need. So for instance, I decide that I want to change this so that I go to hourly billing or monthly billing, then I can actually do this, but I need to actually duplicate and order more storage. I can also change the IOPS as well, decide what IOPS I need in the snapshot space, etc. So that's fairly easy to do. So let's go back again. So let's just see what else is under here. So you can edit the snapshot schedule. So I'll show you the snapshot schedule in a second. You can authorise host, which we've already shown. Change the snapshot space. So I can actually increase the snapshot space. Let's go and have a quick look at that. So there you go. I can now increase the snapshot space I have. So if I had 5 previously, so I can order 10 or I can order 20. So I'm not going to actually change that. So let's cancel that. But that's fairly easy to do. The other thing you can do from here is take a manual snapshot. We haven't actually got anything in there at the moment, so there's not much point in doing that. Or I can actually cancel snapshot space as well. So if I decide I no longer actually want to keep snapshots, and I can cancel from there. Okay, so let's quickly show you the snapshot schedule. So as you say, you can either snapshot hourly, daily, or weekly, or you can actually take a manual snapshot. So to set up a snapshot schedule is actually really easy. So you can decide which type you want. So you can actually take, so if you want to, you can set all 3 of these. Again, you need to try and think about how often your data is changing. So how often do you really need to take snapshots? If your data is changing, very very slowly, then maybe you only need a weekly one. If your snapshot, if your data is changing fairly frequently, then maybe you want a daily one. And if it's really frequent, then maybe you want an hourly snapshot. But the thing to bear in mind is obviously you can only have a maximum of 50 snapshots in your snapshot space at any time, and you don't really want to be over snapshotting. Also, when you restore from a snapshot, remember that you're actually restoring the whole snapshot. So you're not restoring individual files, and you can't restore individual files. You're actually restoring the whole thing. So if you were to take a weekly snapshot and you then go for a 6-day period and someone deletes a file that you want to keep, then if you restore that snapshot, you're actually restoring the whole of the disk back to 5 days ago. So just bear that in mind. So I'll set one of these up. I'm going to select an hourly one because then it's easier to sort of show. So the time is now 9:35. So what I'm going to do is set this so that we do one every at let's say 45, because by then, well, let's say 45, because by then hopefully we'll have so it's 10 minutes away. So hopefully by then we'll have actually put some data into the thing, and you'll be able to see the snapshot. So you can see that I'm going to keep the last 24 snapshots. So that's obviously one per day. I can increase that, I think. Let's see. So I can increase the 50, but remember you've got this total here. I can only keep 50. So it might well be that I want to keep the last 24 of these. Maybe I want to keep 7 of these. Maybe I want to keep 4 of these. So it gives you a sort of a good, son, father, grandfather type snapshot schedule, if that's what you want to do. And obviously I can maybe keep more of those if I want to. So, but remember your total can't exceed 50 across all of these. So that's just something to bear in mind. So let's cancel these. I'm just going to go for an hourly one for now. So let's save that. So there we go. Let's go and actually attach some storage to some hosts now. Okay, so I've got a couple of terminals here. As you can see, I've got server 2 or server 1 and server 2. So the first thing that I need to do is actually create a mount point to attach the storage to. So what I'm going to do is make the UO1 on here. I'm going to do the similarly over here. So I'm going to make this UO2 just to prove that there's a difference. So UO2. Okay, so if I come back over here, now I've actually put this command in already, just to save me lots of typing. So what you need to have is, so what we're doing, this is obviously, these are both Linux servers. As I mentioned, you can't actually mount file storage to Windows servers. So this is actually Linux servers. So we've got a mount command, so mount -T, NFS force, this is the NFS mount type, -O, hard in INTR. And then this thing here is this thing here is actually the mount point. So if you look at your storage, you can see that's the mount point there. So this just needs to match there. And the next argument is actually the directory that you've just created. So I'm going to just enter that, and I'll do the same over here as well. So you see it's exactly the same command, and we're just going to UO2. It's just taking a little bit longer to go through, but there you go, that's done. So just to prove that's done, if I now do a df-k, then you can see that I've got a mount here on UO2, and it's going to there, and you can see that it's actually 20 gigs. I should see the same thing over here as well. So df-k, and there we go, it's 20 gigs. So if I then go, so let's CD into that directory, so I'm CDing into UO2, and let's just do a clear. So you can see I'm in UO2, and let's do the same over here, so CD UO1, and clear. Okay, so if I do an ls -l, you can see that there's actually a couple of directories in here because I pre-created these earlier, and you'll see exactly the same thing over here. So ls -l. There we go. So server 1 and server 2. So if I go into, so let's over here. So this is server 1 over here. So let's go cd into server 1, and let's do an ls there. So there's nothing in that directory at the moment. So if I just do a quick touch, and let's create a file called server1.txt ls -l. Then you see server1.txt is in there. If I actually do an ls -l server1 over here now, then you can see I've actually got this server1 file over here. So it has actually written to that disk, and you can see that this server here over here can now see that. And similarly, if I do an ls, so let's do it over here, let's do a cd back one directory. So if I do an ls -l of server 2, you can see there's nothing in there. So if I come over here and do, so if I do touch server 2, server2.txt, there we go. If I do an ls -l over here now, you can see that, let's try that again, so ls -l for server 2, you can see that server 2 text file is there. So they are actually, so these are two different machines, and they're actually now writing to the same disk. So that's all worked, and that's really great. So so we can see that that's actually working. So let's take a manual snapshot of those two things now. So all I'm going to do is basically click this. So I'm back into my storage screen here. All I'm going to do is click this button, take manual snapshot, and that'll literally take. So it always takes about a minute to create a snapshot. That one's actually a lot quicker. It's always a minute or less. The size of this is pretty much 0 because there's nothing in there. So let's take another one. So let's go to, so where am I? Let's have a look. So let's go into server 1 on here. So let's write another file. So let's call this, let's call this index.html. Let's pretend this is a HTML file. Let's just create a quick file. So head HTML rather. Title. This is my new website. Nothing more exciting than watching somebody type. So, so let's go hello world. Okay, body. Okay, so let's just save that file. So there you go. So let's just check that that's there. ls -l. You can now see the index.html is there. So if I do similarly here, and I go ls -l server 1, you can see that index.html file is there, and again I can obviously look at that as well. And there you go. So it is actually the same file. Okay, so if I take another snapshot, so let's take another manual snapshot. Well, because that file is so small, it's still coming up as 0 kilobytes. But let's just prove that is there. We can, and I'll show you how to actually restore that one back as well. So if I come in here and I now go rm, if I go rm star even, So yes, I'm going to remove that, and yes, I'm going to remove that. So if I now do an ls-l on that particular drive, you can see there's now nothing in there. So, so I've just deleted those. Let's imagine I've deleted those in error. So what I'm actually going to do now is restore this snapshot. So I click Actions and I click Restore. So you get a bit of a warning here. So performing the restore results in loss of data that's been created since the snapshot. The volume will return to the same state it was in, etc., etc. So it will be temporarily locked whilst it's completing. So let's say yes, and it shouldn't actually take too long for that to go. So it's just saying the volume is under the process of being restored. So it shouldn't actually take too long to do that. So let's go back here and do another ls-l. And there you go. It's actually restored the server1.txt. It's not actually restored the second one. So I think what's happened there is that I've actually restored the first snapshot. So you do actually need to look at the times here. So that's a bit of an error on my part. But I can probably go back and let's just refresh the screen. Okay, so having refreshed the screen, you can now see that I've actually got my my hourly snapshot back. So I can now start to recover from that particular snapshot as well. Okay, so that's the end of the lab, so just winding up. So a quick reminder of what we did there. So I showed you how to provision file storage through the catalogue. I showed you how to actually then authorise a couple of hosts to use file storage. It's fairly easy through the console. I'll show you how to mount that storage onto the virtual machines. Now, the mount that I actually showed you wasn't a permanent mount, so if you then actually rebooted those machines, the mount would actually disappear. So if you want to mount permanently, then you need to look at maybe the operating system guide as to how to mount drives permanently. But again, that's something that's fairly easy to do. I showed you how to alter the space that's available and also the IOPS after you've actually provisioned it. So if you need more space or you need more snapshot space, or you need to increase the IOPS or even reduce the IOPS, I've showed you how to do that. And I've also shown you how to take and recover snapshots. So that's it for this particular video. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's been quite a long one, but we've actually crammed quite a bit of detail in there. So in the next video, we'll start to talk more about block storage. Hope to see you there.